What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and the pattern continues. What's the pattern, you're asking? Well, we have a pretty solid performance overall with a disappointing result, and then we have a somewhat lackluster performance with a good result. And the pattern continues. Back and forth, same thing. Our performance at Dallas was actually pretty good until the last 5 minutes, and we lose. And then we look at our performance in Philadelphia, not that great, but we managed to pull off a win. Then you look at our performance against Seattle. For the most part, we controlled the game, but just disappointing result. Can't get the win. And then today, first half, very, very slow for the most part. And then second half, we step our game up, we come out with a win. So whatever the case, it appears to be our pattern at the moment. So I'm expecting us to go out and dominate Montreal and then end up drawing or losing that game. So prove me wrong, please, Atlanta. With that being said, though, let's talk about this game. Obviously, the big talking point is going to be Josef Martinez and breaking the record. The hat-trick record. He is now officially the only person to have 6 hat-tricks. He's above everybody else. The high was 5. Now it's 6. It's very impressive. In 2 seasons, he's managed to do what most strikers haven't been able to do in the MLS in several years. That is a truly impressive record to have. Now, will he stay in the MLS long enough to kind of set that record really high? I don't know. It does sort of feel like, where can you go from here? Because I don't think his style suits some of the other leagues. I don't think he could go to like England and perform as well as he does here. Even going to Spain, I think it would be I think that would be more of a challenge for him. That he would like to go try to compete in Spain and see how he could do there. Because England, I just don't think that style of play suits him. But I think he might, if he does decide to move on, he'd probably end up going to Spain. But whatever the case, I'm glad we have him for as long as we do. I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to hold on to him. But breaking the record today, 3 very good goals, in my opinion, very, very impressive performance from him overall. So glad to have him as a striker. Hopefully can keep him around at least through next year, as we continue to build our club. But with that being said, let's talk about some individuals outside of him. So Brad Guzan in goal, good game overall. The first goal, not a whole lot he could do about it. Well, their only goal, not a whole lot he could do about it. But really, really good save after that in the first half to keep us in the game. Because at that point, I want to say it was still 1-0. I don't think we'd equalized yet. But there was a moment where I think it was off of a corner and deflects off of one of our defenders, probably I think it was LGP, right at him, and he manages to, I think, turn it onto the post, deflects right to, I think it was Acosta, who lined up a shot, just made himself big off his chest and out. Very, very good double save there, and it was huge. It kept us in the game. I think we equalized shortly after that, and now all of a sudden we are a little bit more in control of what was going on, which is good to see. But yeah, so really love having a keeper as smart and as experienced as Brad is in goal. Then you've got our back 4, same back 4 that we've had for the past, actually McCann just came back last game. But yeah, you've got Chris on the left, Franco on the right, and then you've got LGP and Michael in the middle. And for the most part, except for I would say the first 10-15 minutes, I thought our defense was very solid. It was just that first 10 minutes. It felt like things were a little bit scattered. We were kind of being pulled out of position. The goal came from LGP making a run across the field to track somebody, and then he doesn't win the ball, and the ball goes in the middle, and Chris is still all the way out on the left, and so there's just so much room, and now he's got to step across, and that opens up the space on the wing. So it was just very, very unorganized, which I think we see a lot of when we have a back 4. It's very difficult to see who's supposed to be stepping, who's going to be the deepest man. And so a lot of the times it can lead to moments like that. And we've seen that in the past few games where we've employed the back 4. Defensively, we can be very, very open, and that was our story last season. And it makes me wonder why we're not going back to the back 3. We have the players for it now. We've got Escobar and McCann both ready to play, and both of them can be that third defender. So why don't we stick with that? Why don't we stick with that formation, switch it around a little bit? We can still have the same pretty much front 3 that we have now. It's just leave one more person back so we're not as open defensively. But for whatever reason, we don't like to do that. We like to only leave 2 back, with Jeff kind of holding back a little bit more. But he's not really a defender. He's the defensive midfielder that's trying to shut down the counterattack. but he's just one man. He can't shut down everyone. But whatever the case, aside from that, that opening 15 minutes, I thought our defense managed to, I guess, organize themselves a little bit better. And for the most part, that came from whichever fullback went down the field. The other one did hold back a little bit. It wasn't always the case. Sometimes both of them were still up there anyway. But you could definitely see the other one, whether it was Escobar crossing and McCann on the other side, sort of back a little bit, not really all the way up in the play. You could see that they were more ready to get back defensively and help out defensively to avoid the counterattack and avoid being split open in the back like we were for their goal. So it helped to manage the game for the rest of it. And I thought that was I don't know if that was a Tata move or if that was somebody in the defense sort of communicating with each other to make that adjustment, but whatever the case, it worked out. And they really didn't have much of a chance. Even in the second half, when we started dropping off a bit more, they still weren't able to create any really good chances. So I thought it was a very impressive display from all four of them. Of that back four, I would say on the ball, I think probably Chris looked the best just because he does get forward a lot more and he helps out. He has some good passage of play. Franco tonight, not one of his better games. Defensively, he did okay, but on the ball, it definitely looked pretty poor. Just the runs that he was making weren't right. Sometimes his crosses were terrible. LGP on the ball is still not good, but defensively, he's stepped up. He's a lot more controlled. He's not as wild and crazy, which is good to see. And then Michael, still the leader back there, still very much the one who seems like he has a lot more control than the rest of the defenders. But on the ball tonight, he looked a little bit, I wouldn't say less confident. He just didn't seem to be, his passes didn't seem to be coming off as well as they normally do, which is weird for him. So, but all four of them defensively looked good, so that was good. And then you get into the midfield, and this is where things sort of get a little bit dicey because there were some that in the first half were just non-existent, for the most part. It felt like they weren't really involved. It felt like they weren't helping us out a whole lot. And so DC, it felt like they had a lot of control over the game because our front four and the middle two didn't really get as involved as I would have liked them to. But then second half, when we started controlling the game more, when we started having more possession and moving the ball around a lot more, all of a sudden they came alive. So first of all, Jeff and Julian as that middle two. It's kind of been our middle two since Nagby got hurt, and we really don't have another option. Now that Remedy has come in, we do have a better option there in the midfield. And I do hope he can slot in very quickly because we could use somebody else in there, a little bit different. But as far as Jeff and Julian are concerned, Jeff, another consistent performance from him, another nice solid performance in the midfield, shutting down a lot of chances in the midfield. He can't shut down everything, unfortunately, and that did lead to a few good chances in the first half. But in the second half, you could definitely see where the adjustment of having another defender back plus him in the midfield, it allows him to be a bit more aggressive in his challenges. Because when he's the only midfielder back and there's only two defenders behind him, you kind of feel like he's maybe a little bit hesitant to go challenge. Because he knows if he steps out and he doesn't win that, then he's beat, and now it's a 2v2 situation most likely. When you have that extra defender back there, it almost gives him a bit more confidence to go out and step in and win it. And because he's got that confidence, it feels like he does win that a lot more. So I feel like it helps him to have somebody else back there because he can be a bit more free to go in and make a challenge, which he is very good at doing. And then you've got Julian, who he has his moments where he does something really, really good. He has some good passes. He has a good little run back to win the ball. But then he also has his moments where the passing is awful, or he dribbles into pressure, or he just kind of chips the ball towards the back post, and it's easy for the defender to clean up. So he's always such an up and down player. It's hard for me to really get behind him because one moment I could be like, yes, great pass, and then the next moment I'll be like, you're an idiot, get off the field. And then you got the front three and behind Josef. You've got Tito on the right, who in my opinion didn't really have his best showing tonight. Had a few moments here and there where he did something well, but his crossing tonight was just terrible, except for that one. He had that one good cross and the rest of them awful. And then you've also got him making runs in behind. There were a few that he just made a great run. It's difficult to stop as a defender. When you've got a player in front of you on the ball, you're trying to force him wide. So you try to cut off that wide pass, but when you do, it opens up the space in behind you. And Tito's very smart about reading that and making a good run in behind. And he's got the speed that not a lot of defenders are going to catch up to him. However, there are also times where he makes the wrong run. He's trying to make a run inside, or he's trying to I guess show for his feet when you need him to be making a run. So it didn't always come off, but the effort was there, and I love the effort from him. So hopefully he can get back into a good scoring / movement routine, because I do want his hard work to be rewarded. And then you've got Miguel, who in the first half, like I said, he's one of those players, didn't really see him much in the first half. It felt like he was kind of ineffective, but then second half, he just controlled the game in the midfield. The third goal that Josef scored, completely set up by him, just making a run back, picking it off, taking it down the field. Now he's pretty much, it's a 2v3 situation between him and Josef and their 3 defenders, but it doesn't feel like a 2v3 because they're backpedaling and they're trying to go at speed with him, and it's a difficult position when he is running at you like that, full speed, and you're trying to backtrack, cover this man while also making sure he's shut down. It's hard to defend that, and it was a lucky deflection off the defender, off of Martinez's thigh, right into his path, but even then, it comes about because of the difficult situation Miguel puts them in by just running at them with speed, taking the ball from deep and going at them. It looks just so dangerous. So I love whenever he is on, whenever he's playing well. Miguel is easily one of the best players, and it's difficult to defend him, but we do see there are moments in the first half where it's just like, really, this is one of the best players in the MLS, because he just kind of fades out of the game for some reason. So I prefer to have more of second half Miguel than first half Miguel. But with that being said, we also got to talk about the homegrown, Andrew Carleton, getting his first MLS start. And for his first MLS start, it was okay. And the reason I say it like that is because I've heard so many people just raving about him. And don't get me wrong, I understand why. He's a homegrown, he was born here, raised here, he's young, he's talented, so everybody's got he was fantastic today, he was so good, but he wasn't, and that's the thing, if this were his first ever MLS game, period, and if this was his first year and he was 16 or 17, it was never heard of this kid before now he's old enough to play, and look at him, he's out there, he's trying some stuff, he's on the ball here and there, he's working, running around a lot, it would be great. But this is his second year. He's 18, which is only 1 year behind Barco and Vasquez. And there's not really much difference from last year. And last year was, young player, pretty good, a lot of potential. This year, young player, pretty good, a lot of potential. Where's the difference? There's nothing really different about him. He's still that, he's got a lot of fire in him. He can run around, he can make life difficult for people because he's very much he doesn't stop running at you whenever you've got the ball. But when it comes to the really defensive part of it, when it comes to actually trying to win the ball back, he's not really that strong. He doesn't read the game well enough to be able to pick off passes. So defensively, he's hurting you because he's not really providing a whole lot. On the attack, he's not really making the right runs. When he's on the ball, sometimes he gives it away too easily. Sometimes he dribbles too much and gets under pressure. There are these little things where if this were his first year, if this were his first game in the MLS, I'd be like, all right, well, he's got room to grow. But this is not his first game in the MLS. Yes, he didn't play a whole lot last year, but he's been playing with the second team this year. He's been involved with the first team quite a bit, actually. He's gotten 2 Open Cup games this year. He should have enough experience to where I wouldn't say he's controlling the game, but he should have provided a lot more than he did in this game today. And he didn't. He looks like a young kid who looks like he's got a lot of potential, but we're beyond that now. We are at a level now, we are at a stage in our team where we should have players out there like Barco that are young and talented. Young and dangerous. Yes, he's not always finishing off chances. Yes, sometimes he's missing easy chances, but he's dangerous. I can remember so many times where I'm like, oh, Barco, it was close, but you've got to, that finishing quality needs to get better. With Carlton, I can't even remember where I'm thinking his finishing quality's got to get better, except for the 2 chances he had from outside the box where he just kicked it at the keeper. So, I don't know. I mean, I realize, yes, this is me being a bit of a Debbie Downer, but I feel like you just got to look at it a bit realistically, because a lot of people are calling for him to start next game as well, because Barco, whatever he did, whatever stupid thing he did for Tata, the disciplinary thing, he's not going to be starting next match. And a lot of people are calling for Carlton to start again. That's not going to work, because from what I saw today, not only did Vasquez show more, but I feel like you bring Remedy in the midfield and move Gressel up to the front 3. That's a better option. And I don't even like Gressel as a part of the front 3. I prefer him out wide. But there are better options than Carlton right now. And that's honestly the biggest critique I have, is that he's gotten a little bit better from last year, but he hasn't gotten better enough to where I feel like we can rely on him. Barco's out. Oh, yes, let's throw him in. I feel like I'd rather have Vasquez or Williams, or shuffle some things around and have Remedy in, than to have Carlton out there right now, because he's not providing enough. So anyway, hi, I'm sorry if you hate me for that. I'm sorry if you feel like I'm not a real supporter. Look, I want our team to do well, and don't get me wrong, I want Carlton to turn out to be a great player, but right now he's not there. And you got to take off the glasses, the fan glasses. The fact that he's homegrown doesn't change anything. He hasn't got enough quality right now to help us. And it's disappointing, but I feel like that's something that he's got to look at and see, what did you do today? Okay, you had one good cross in. It was more the deflection that helped out, leading to Martinez's goal. But aside from that, you had 2 shots that were very weak right at the keeper from outside the box. Honestly, one of them was, it was perfect. Martinez set him up perfectly right at the keeper. Aside from that, what did you do? Not much. So, it's my critique. You can hate me for it if you want to, but that's me wanting to see our team get better. So, anyway, finally, I've already talked a little bit about Martinez today and how he was great. So I don't feel like I need to go into much more detail about that. So let's move on to the subs. Brandon Vasquez is the first one to come on for Carlton, and honestly, I thought he did well. He's typically done well coming off the bench, not when he's starting, so you might want to take that into account when going into the Montreal game this weekend, or next weekend. But yeah, I thought worked pretty hard, had some good moments on the ball. Still not quite there yet, but definitely have seen an improvement from, I think, a few games ago, Chicago and in the Open Cup, where he just wasn't really getting the job done. I saw a little bit more tonight, which was good to see. So hopefully, he can keep improving, because we need him to get better, because honestly, we don't have a lot of tall attacking players, and he would be a good addition for sure. So, and then we've got Remedy comes in for his first debut. Solid performance. Didn't have a whole lot of time to do much, but he reads the game well. Came in, won a few challenges, picked off a couple passes. His passing, for the most part, was pretty good. Didn't see anything spectacular like what we see from Nagby, so I don't know if he's quite there yet, but in my opinion, it was a good debut for him. It's a good moment for him to get some time to get integrated into the team as well, because we are going to need him to step in at some point. But yeah, so overall, I was happy with it. I thought it was a good first performance from him. And then you've got Kratz comes on late, more of just, I don't know. You just kind of bring him on because he's a late sub. You waste a little time with the sub. You kind of push Vasquez up and bring Kratz back in the middle. He did okay. It just wasn't a whole lot of time to do much. But whatever the case, it's a good win. Hopefully we can take this momentum into next weekend, because we need to put together a string of wins because we really haven't been doing well recently. It's been such a up and down performance type of season for us, where we started it so well. We were winning, easily top of the standings, and then we just hit this run of form where it was like win and then a loss and then a win and then a draw and then a win and a loss and a win. And we're dropping points just every other game. And that's not conducive to having a title-winning season. And I want us to go for it. I want us to win the Supporters Shield because even though people will say, oh, the MLS Cup, that's where it's at, I would prefer to be the best team over the season. Because MLS Cup, you could be the best team on that night, but you were not the best team over the season, and you end up winning the MLS Cup. Well, congratulations, but who cares? You happen to win 3 games in a row, whereas throughout the entire season you were mediocre. You ended up in like 5th or 6th place in your conference. So for me, it's much more impressive to go all season long and end up top out of 2 conferences as compared to you won 3 games in the postseason, or 2 games if you were number 1 or 2 in your conference. Who cares? I realize a lot of people care. I personally don't. I think that's a cheap way to win the overall, oh, you won the MLS this year because you won in the playoffs. I think that's a cheap way to go about it. I personally would prefer that they say whoever wins the Supporters Shield is actually the true winner of the MLS, but they don't look at it like that for some reason because Americans are stupid when it comes to the sport. But whatever the case, here's hoping that our form steps back up. We can start to get together a good run of games where we really put together some good performances and results to go with it. But with all that being said, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on today's game? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Atlanta United reviews. I'll see you guys in the next game. Peace out.